Imagine this moment with me. You've had a situation where everything seemed to be going perfectly fine, yet you felt a strange sense of unease or discomfort inside. Ever wondered why? Your mind starts creating stories, connecting dots, making things appear much worse than they actually are. Before you know it, you're caught in a whirlwind of negative emotions, justifying them with logical reasons that make perfect sense to you. But here's the kicker. The mind will bend reality to justify the emotions we're already feeling. What if I told you that the world you're seeing right now, the interpretations you're making about your life, are not really reality? Instead, they are shaped and distorted by your internal emotional state. Stay with me as we dive deep into why your mind often manipulates your perception of reality to support the emotions you're experiencing. This is not just psychological theory. It's the way our brains are wired to protect us, but also at times deceive us. Emotions are incredibly powerful. They shape how we feel, how we act, and ultimately, how we perceive the world around us. What's even more powerful is the mind's ability to distort reality to fit the emotions we're experiencing. Think about it. How often do you feel a certain way and then, without realizing it, start seeing everything around you through that emotional lens? You feel anxious and suddenly, everything feels uncertain. You feel anger rising up and suddenly, the smallest things become triggers. Your mind grabs onto the negative thoughts, the fears, the justifications, and begins to create a narrative that matches your inner state. Here's the truth. Your mind is not always objective. It is constantly seeking to validate and support your emotions, even when they may not be grounded in reality. This process is called cognitive bias, the way our brains tend to skew perceptions to match our emotional state. And what we often don't realize is that this bias shapes how we see ourselves, others, and the world around us. Today, we're going to uncover why your mind does this, how it distorts your reality, and most importantly, how you can start to break free from this cycle to see things more clearly. Let's break this down. Imagine that your mind is like a lens through which you see the world. This lens is tinted by your emotions, your fears, your joys, your anxieties, your hopes. Your emotional state colors everything you see. If you're feeling fearful, you might perceive situations as more threatening than they actually are. Every unexpected noise, every unreturned text message, every delay feels like an impending crisis. Your mind seeks out evidence to support your fear and avoids information that contradicts it. This is your mind steering reality to match your emotions. On the other hand, if you're feeling joyful or content, you might notice the little blessings in your life more easily. Small acts of kindness, the beauty of nature, the laughter of friends. Everything feels brighter and more vibrant. Your mind actively notices and emphasizes the positive because that's the emotional state you're in. But this emotional lens isn't just limited to joy or fear. It influences all your perceptions, including how you view your relationships, your job, and even yourself. For instance, if you're angry, you might start seeing people's actions through a negative filter. A harmless comment may feel like an insult, or an innocent action could be interpreted as a personal attack. Your mind will look for evidence that supports your anger, and it will dismiss anything that contradicts it. This is where the danger lies. The mind will do anything it can to keep the emotional state validated, even if it means distorting reality. It's almost like your mind is trying to protect you from pain or discomfort by confirming that your emotions are justified, even when they may not be. Let's talk about how the mind justifies negative emotions like anger, resentment, or jealousy. These emotions often have a strong hold on us, and it's easy for the mind to find reasons for them. When you feel angry, for example, your mind starts looking for evidence that justifies that anger. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you might think, "That person is rude, they don't respect me." Your mind doesn't just let it go. It finds reasons to keep you angry, like imagining that person might have done it on purpose. It turns a simple mistake into a personal attack, and suddenly, your anger seems totally justified. The same goes for jealousy. If you're feeling insecure about a relationship, your mind might start creating stories that paint your partner in a negative light. You might start to believe that they're ignoring you on purpose or that they're attracted to someone else. Your mind will seek evidence to confirm those fears, whether it's true or not. What's happening here is that the mind works in overdrive to support negative emotions. It becomes an automatic process. When you feel an intense emotion, your mind starts working to justify it, even if the reasoning doesn't hold up. This process can easily lead to rumination, where you go over the same negative thoughts repeatedly, reinforcing the emotional state and making it harder to break free. The problem with this emotional bias is that it creates a distorted reality. When we see the world through the filter of our emotions, we are no longer seeing things as they are. Instead, we're seeing them as we feel, which can be completely different from the truth. Take depression as an example. When you're in a depressed state, your mind might convince you that nothing is worth doing, that you are hopeless, and that no one cares about you. Your mind becomes clouded by your emotional state, and suddenly, everything in your life feels negative. But the truth is, depression distorts reality. It creates a lens that makes everything seem darker than it really is. Similarly, if you're feeling anxious, your mind might magnify worst-case scenarios. You might start believing that every situation is a potential disaster. The reality, however, is that most of the things you worry about will never happen. And the ones that do are rarely as bad as your mind imagines. This is why it's so important to recognize the power of your emotions. If we're not careful, we can get trapped in a loop where our emotions dictate our perceptions, which in turn affect our reality. And when we allow our emotional states to shape our world, we can feel stuck in a cycle of negativity, frustration, or confusion. The good news is that you can break free from this cycle. It starts with awareness. The first step is to acknowledge when your emotions are coloring your perception. Once you become aware that you're seeing the world through an emotional lens, you can start to challenge the stories your mind is telling you. Ask yourself questions like, am I seeing this situation clearly, or am I justifying it based on how I feel? What evidence do I have that supports my feelings? What's the alternative way to view this situation? The next step is detachment. This doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing your emotions, but it means separating your emotions from your perceptions. When you feel intense emotions, pause and observe them. Recognize that they are just emotions, not the truth. By creating space between the emotion and your perception, you can regain control over how you respond. Lastly, practice mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you stay grounded in the present moment, preventing your mind from getting lost in stories that reinforce your emotional biases. By practicing mindfulness, you learn to see the world without the distortion of negative emotions. If you've made it this far, I encourage you to take action. Start observing your emotions and how they influence your perceptions. The next time you feel a strong emotion, ask yourself, is my mind distorting reality to justify how I feel? If this video resonated with you, please like it to show your support. Comment below and share your experience with emotional bias. How have your emotions influenced the way you see the world? What steps are you taking to break free from distorted thinking? I'd love to hear from you, and don't forget to subscribe to Awaken Your Essence. We'll continue to explore how to live a life of clarity, mindfulness, and emotional freedom. Let's awaken our essence and reclaim control over the reality we create. Thank you for being part of this journey. Let's continue to awaken together.